Good evening all. This is Philip Morgan from Arlington, Texas, joining you for the final exam, if you will, the video online presentation of my action research findings from our BC681 capstone project class, led by Dr. Allan Canfield. Again, this is Philip Morgan. I'm a graduate research student in the MABC program, and I chose throughout my graduate project here at JIU to study parliamentary debate. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with parliamentary debate, this is an excellent opportunity via video for you to understand a little bit about parli and why it's so important to me, and why it's so important that I actually chose it for my research project. So let me give you just a little breakdown today of what exactly I'm going to go through. My research project dealt directly with some problems that were occurring in the Texas debate system, and when I recognized these problems, I had to find a way in my head to alter that so I could open up the educational value of debate in Texas. There's a lot of problems, specifically in communication, with debate in Texas, and parliamentary debate was something that I was familiar with, but not many people in the Texas system were very familiar with. So today I'm going to introduce you to parliamentary debate, tell you exactly why I chose it, and then carry you through some of my research findings in trying to implement parliamentary debate into the Texas high school system. There's a quotation, a Chinese proverb, if you will, that says, "There are many paths to the top of the mountain, but the view is always the same." Now, the good thing about being a teacher is that I get to challenge my students. I tell them that we take quotations like this all the time, but you have to agree or disagree. And I would have to start out this research presentation by telling you I disagree with this, because while there may be many paths to the top of the mountain, I don't believe that all those paths lead you to the same view. As a matter of fact, if you've ever seen a mountain, it's pretty jagged. And one side facing north might be completely different if you're facing east, specifically if the sun is setting. So while you think about this, let me offer you another quotation. Albert Einstein, very famous and denoted studier and scientist, said that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. This actually applies to my research a lot better and kind of contrasts the presiding speech, because I believe that insanity in Texas is doing debate the same way we've always done it. It's got a lot of problems. It's got a lot of kinks, in my opinion, as a researcher. But in my opinion, wasn't what I founded my research on. The questions I had are what I founded the research on. And debate is a very specific style of communication. There's some problems I mentioned in debate today. Mainly the problems go along with communication. For some reason in Texas, the reason I chose this research is because debate bugs me, frankly. The students don't really learn a whole lot about critical thinking, and it's all about speed reading. There's this new phenomenon called spreading, and it's throwing as many arguments as possible at your opponent and hoping they can't hear fast enough or communicate fast enough to answer all of your questions. And if you throw out 30 arguments and they can only answer 20, you win. And I don't think I'm the only one that shares the opinion that this type of communication is poor, it's muddled, and it just makes for uneducational debate. These problems have led me to my research, because I think that parliamentary debate, as opposed to cross-examination debate, is a much better format. It's still a 2-on-2 structure. It allows open and protected questioning. It allows for a shorter time frame in the round, which leads to shorter tournaments and more efficient debating. And it allows less rebuttals, better argumentation, more topics, because cross-examination only offers one topic a year. Parli can offer an unlimited amount, because there's one new topic in every round you debate. And finally, it'll build stronger impromptu speaking, team-building skills, and critical thinking skills in the structure of debate in Texas and across the nation. And some of the benefits that it affords our students is it better prepares them for college, both in admissions and scholarships, and also helping them adapt to the style of debate that they will debate when they go into college. An overview of some research questions. My main research question was to find out, after discussing with Professor Canfield, what steps to implement parliamentary debate into the Texas system and across possibly high school systems in the entire nation. I also thought about these things. What would students really say about parliamentary debate? Would they be involved and interested? Would coaches be supportive of the event and competition? How would this event be best introduced into the status quo? And if it was, would students enjoy parli as much as CX that they've been competing in for decades? And finally, the best question I think of all is, if I'm going to do all this research, is it going to be worth it for the benefit of the students? And now we're going to go into the most important part, which was the findings of my research. 3 major research findings that I found in this is, first of all, students are very interested in parliamentary debate, and they're willing to participate if it was offered. Second of all, I found that the best way to introduce this, since the students are interested, is by offering parliamentary debate as an experimental event in tournaments during the year. Instead of trying to immediately run and get it pushed into effect, my suggestions of the people that I interviewed in my personal interviews and research and the students said that we should offer it as an experimental event. See if students are interested, because if they're interested, they'll sign up for it. Amazingly enough, in the first tournament, over 60 students signed up for parliamentary debate. In Texas, the average number of students at a tournament probably runs around 200, and in a debate event probably hits about the 75 to 80 mark. More students signed up for parliamentary debate than they did for cross-examination. And it may not mean a lot to you, but let me tell you this. Cross-examination has been around for 100 years in Texas, and Parley is relatively new. And for all these cross-examination students to sign up for Parley is a massive statement. So that led me to the final part of my research that I found out. Since students are interested, and since they definitely wanted to offer it as an experimental event, my next research finding was this. The best way to be efficient and effective in implementing Parley into the actual system was to approach the UIL by a very strict number of steps. I spoke to the state theater or speech and debate director, Jenna Riggins, and Ms. Riggins stated that the best and most formal way to approach the committee was to take the following 3 steps. The best way is step 1. Establish a written need through research identifying the current problems. All the things I spoke to you about earlier, the speed, the lack of critical thinking, the limitation of the debate topic, all that was formally put together and introduced to her and the executive committee 3 months ago. Step 2 is to implement Parley as an experimental event, which we also did into tournaments. In the process of implementing it, we also surveyed students and teachers and also collegiate professors who were invited to the tournament and who were personally interviewed by me, and you can look that up on the final research project 7.1 as well and see the actual transcript from those interviews. They were very excited about possibly implementing high school parliamentary debate because of the benefit it would give to their college programs. The third thing was to construct a form letter for the UIL Legislative Committee, which can also be found in my 7.1 appendix project. And then that way they could actually decide whether they wanted to have a hearing on parliamentary debate. And then step 4 is actually part of the research that's ongoing, which is why I love action research. Because should the UIL Executive Committee approve this and want to hear me out, I'll be able to go in and speak before them with the exact evidence and research you're seeing right now. I can attest to all of the information and data that I've collected through my action research this year in the BC681 project and lay it in front of them just like this and present my case for implementing parliamentary debate, which I think will be an excellent addition to the UIL system should they approve it in the further action research. Some closing thoughts on parliamentary debate. Taking these necessary steps would make the possible implementation of this wonderful and educational style of debate to students statewide in Texas and possibly nationwide in the coming years. Second, this style of debate will better train thousands of our new attorneys, speakers, businessmen, women, citizens for real-world reaction and interpersonal communication throughout the world. All forms of debate are valuable, and let me leave you with these thoughts. All types of debate are not being recognized at present, in Texas and the nation. I fear that that's happening because most people don't want change. The major organizations, such as the University Interscholastic League that oversees debate in Texas, does not want change. My research has got a lot of very important, what I believe, very important factors for the students in debate in Texas and in the nation. There's lots of unlocked doors, lots of different methods they can get their goals and achieve their goals from. But the main thing to think about is this. If you go back to the Chinese proverb and the quotation by Albert Einstein, there's a lot of ways to get to the top of a mountain. I don't think the view is the same based on which path you take. As a matter of fact, in the way Texas is going right now, it's a bit insane doing the same style of debate over and over and expecting the students to magically understand rhetoric and critical thinking. Rather, I believe that if you take different methods, such as the parliamentary debate path to the top of the mountain, as opposed to the cross-examination path, the view will be quite different. While all the paths definitely are valuable, some are more treacherous, some are more dangerous, but some are also more beneficial. And I think that if they implement parliamentary debate into the Texas system of research, that the students will benefit from a beautiful view in their educational future at the top of the academic mountain.